Hello, class. I want to take just a few minutes to talk about a few takes and perspectives on KSAOs, knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. I hope by doing this and by looking at a few ways in which others have viewed KSAOs, you'll get a better understanding. First, let's start off at the beginning. And as we've talked about several times already in this course, the importance of the job analysis. Once that job analysis has been completed, we have now the attributes of the job. Okay, then we want to dive deeply into what knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics are needed by the job holder for performing the tasks and or behaviors identified in that job analysis. Now, by identifying the KSAOs of the job, there are numerous repercussions for employees and ultimately the organization. And they're going to be positive. If you truly know what the KSAOs are for a particular job, then you're going to be well suited to meet many challenges ahead to make the organization successful and employees more productive. So let's look at this example from the California Public Utilities Commission. So this is what they use for onboarding for their particular supervisors. So we'll look real quickly at the skills, knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics. So skills. So look at what we have listed here. Strategic and critical thinking, performance management, project management, and communication. When we look at this, you may have noticed that you may have been involved in some of these before. If you've been out in the business world or in some sort of organization in some form of employment, particularly if you're a supervisor. Why that is because all of these represent the types of things that leaders, supervisors, will normally get trained on. Okay, so we have getting training on performance management and project management. If you're going to be a supervisor that will be responsible for managing several projects at a time, then they want to make sure you get trained in that particular area. Skills. Now let's look at the knowledge. You're a supervisor for a particular organization. You want to be sure that you have the basic knowledge down pat. For example, personnel policies and procedures, particular subject matter for whatever your organization or your unit's responsible for. And then the practices and culture of, in this case, the California Public Utilities Commission. So we see here, this is knowledge, things that you learn through reading. Also could be training, but they're focusing on you gaining knowledge, and that is important. Now let's look over here at abilities. So the abilities they have here are mentor, coach, and develop staff, build relationships, build teams and organization. So here are going to be certain characteristics that may be sort of what inborn or innate to an individual. For example, organization. Some people are very tidy, very precise. They always know where their stuff is. They have a certain place for it, and that's where it goes. Natural ability. Some people have a little bit more difficulty with that and have to be trained in it. So again, this is not something they naturally have, and they'll have to try to attack it from another area. So the other thing is build relationships. Some people may have an innate ability to do those types of things. So what we see here are abilities, things to which you have characteristics which are innate to you that may be very beneficial to a particular job or position. Therefore, they want to know what types of abilities you already possess. And then there are other characteristics. In this example from CPUC, they have a good work ethic. Again, that may be a personal characteristic of conscientiousness that we see from the Big Five personality. Then we have engaging, decisive, people person. So what they're looking for are those other characteristics, those personality characteristics normally, that don't fall in these other categories that may make you a good candidate for this particular position because you have some of the other characteristics and hopefully some of the other things too, such as knowledge, skills, abilities, and others. And also remember this. When you are being hired or looked at as a potential hire individual to a candidate for a job, They are going to be looking at it from two perspectives. What do you already possess and what should you possess before you're hired? And what will they hope you to be able to learn after you have been hired? So what we're looking at here, just looking at some different ideas about the KSAOs. Well, what is knowledge? Knowledge is a collection of distinct yet related facts on a particular area obtained via training and or education or experience. Knowledge, facts. Then we have skill, an ability to do something well, gained through practice and training. So here we've honed somebody's skill. They may have had certain natural tendencies, but we made it better by giving them more practice and more training in a particular area. Skill. Then there's ability. The capability to accomplish a specific behavior due to natural innate talent. Okay, so example, as I mentioned earlier, someone may have a great deal of organization skills innately. I didn't mean to use skills, but they may be someone who's very highly organized. It's part of their nature, as opposed to someone who has no organization innate talent whatsoever. So that's an ability, something that you're born with, something that is natural. And then we have other characteristics, personality variables, interests that you may have, certain types of experiences that you may have or possess. These things all go into the KSAOs that may be relevant to a particular position or job. So let's take yet another look here about the KSAOs. They have here, knowledge is understanding. It's mental or theoretical rather than practical. Knowledge can be learned from a book, and you can gain knowledge by researching online or visiting your local library even. Knowing how to do something does not mean that you can do it, however, even if you understand the steps and what should happen. So here they're making a great distinction between knowledge and your ability to do something. Okay? Now let's look at skills and abilities. The difference between a skill and an ability is much less obvious than the difference between knowledge and the other two. Basically, abilities again are natural, innate, while skills are learned behaviors. When cutting hair, you might have the ability to keep your hand steady, an inborn natural innate ability, but the skill is what you learn within a hairdressing course. So you have steady hands. But someone who has steady hands can also wind up being a surgeon. Okay? Just what skills you're being trained in. The abilities are already there. So skills can be developed and improved over time by combining our abilities and knowledge. Abilities can also be improved and honed to some extent. For example, running fast is a skill, but the ability to run fast comes in part from having strong leg muscles, which can be developed through regular exercise. So ability and knowledge combine to create skills that can be used. So ability plus knowledge can equal skills. So remember that as well. So knowledge, read a book, take a class. Ability, a quality you are born with. And skill, practical things you learn or are trained in. And yet another take on looking at some of the differences between knowledge, skill, and ability. All right, so let's read each one of these columns. Well, let's compare them first. Knowledge is the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. Skills are the proficiencies you develop through training or experience. Ability is the quality of being able to do something. Now, knowledge is acquired through learning or experience. Skills are practice or learned behavior. Abilities are natural or inbuilt. Here's an examples. Knowing how to bake a cake in theory, knowledge. Having baking and cooking skills or practice in baking, skills. Having a natural abilities like attention to detail, ability. So you can be able to see how all of these things sort of play together. So you first have the knowledge about how to bake a cake. Then you're trained in baking a cake. Then it should be made much easier if you have certain abilities like focusing, and being able to pay attention to details. So, knowledge increases with experience. Skills can be developed with practice. Ability can be improved to a certain extent. Hopefully this has been helpful.